Morning, Market Chameleons and Dimitri Pargamonic. How are you doing this morning, buddy?
Good morning, Will. How are you?
Great. Let's get right to the disclaimer. What do you think?
Yep. Good morning, everyone. Before we get started, keep in mind, Will and I, Market Chameleon, we're not registered investment advisors. We're not broker dealers. We're not telling you what to do. We're just sharing ideas. If you need professional help, contact your broker. That's what they're there for, to help answer your questions, provide you with guidance. There's the disclaimer, everyone.
Hey, we had a lot of great feedback on last night's webinar on iron condors, Dima. Nice job.
Awesome. Well, I did get a lot of questions on that topic, so I wanted to cover it. But we do try to come back to it maybe because we cover a lot of topics. We try to come back to every so often and discuss some of the different option strategies. So I'm glad that was helpful to people. Well, let me know, do you see my screen or no?
Let me take a quick look. Yes, I see it. It's looking good.
Okay, cool. So today what I want to do, we'll start out looking what's going on in the pre-market hours. We did make some updates last night that we pushed out on two reports. One is on the insider trades screener. The other one is the implied volatility movers. I'm going to go cover those reports, show the new features and some of the new analysis we added to those reports. So let's get started with the pre-market. These are stocks that are moving in the pre-market hours before the market opens. We have the most active stocks, biggest percentage gainers, biggest percentage decliners. Let's look at stocks that have a market cap of $20 billion or higher first. So I'm going to use this filter market cap, $20 billion or higher. And we see that 26 made the percentage gainers list, 3 on the decliners list. Couple ones up top, that's what Peloton looks like. They're up 11.4%. And I'm just reading some of the headline news that they're acquiring another company.
I haven't looked into that yet, but I'm assuming I have to dig deeper, but it looks like people look at the transaction favorably, obviously, at the very least.
All right, so up 11.4% on that news. The other one below that, up 3.6%. That's, how do you say that? Palantir,
I think it's pronounced.
Palantir, is that?
Yeah.
So it looks to me, I'm looking at the headline news, and it looks like they received a contract from the U.S. Army, up 3.6% in a pre-market.
That has been one of their things. I mean, they've been around forever in the private sector, not a publicly traded entity, but they've always worked. They're in Silicon Valley, but they've always worked with the U.S. government, the CIA, the military. A lot of the data work that the government does goes through Palantir. So.
Okay. Well, and what do they do? Like collect data for them and manage the data? Is that?
Yes, it's a large data collection company and analyzation of data.
Well, 53.5 billion market cap, and this is a relatively new IPO. Is that correct? Well,
correct. 3 months maybe.
So these are the ones on the top. Apple up 3.1%. This morning. So at least from here, not a lot of stocks on these lists, but it looks more favorable to the upside than downside from comparing these percentage gainers versus percentage decliners. Let me go to the unfiltered report. We see a couple small caps gapping up in the morning. JG, AMTX. Again, these are small cap stocks. We kind of cover these types every day, and I wanted to get to the other reports. So unless there are any questions you have on the pre-market hours, I'm going to move on.
Yep, you can move on.
All right. Before I get to the new reports, let's check on this relatively new one as well, the performance by industry. This will let us know yesterday which stocks in which industries were doing relatively well. So I'm going to filter here. We have here the names of the industries, the number of stocks, the percentage of the stocks that were up, the percentage of stocks that were down yesterday, the median return in that group. So I'm going to first filter by the best median return. This one only has, looks like 1 in that group, silver, 7 in that group. Looks like all 7 were up yesterday for a median return of 5.7%. I'm going to open that up just to take a look at the stocks. So you can see AG, First Majestic, up 4.5% yesterday. ASM, that looks like a lower market cap stock, $109 million market cap stock. $22 stock up 8.9%. We have another one here, PAAS, 7.1 billion market cap, up 1.2%. So all those stocks yesterday in this group were up. Again, we've kind of seen that silver popping up already. I don't know, almost every time we look. Solar yesterday, 18 stocks in that group, 83% of them were higher yesterday, 17% lower for median return, 3.4%. I'm going to open that up. So let's see the best performer in this group. SOL up 16.7%, $462 million market cap stock. BEM up 13.6%, AMAXN up 9.4%. So like some of these are pretty big gainers, right? A couple of them were decliners yesterday, 3 of them, and some unchanged. So that's in the solar. Footwear, Nike reported earnings yesterday. They were up after reporting earnings. So they're right here. Nike up 4.9%. Looks like they pulled up that sector. So 92% of the stocks in that sector were up. 8% lower for median return of 1.7%. So let's see, just on a percentage gains, we had FORD, Forward Industries, up 23.4%, Nike up 4.9%, Foot Locker up 2.4%. And you can see here, Crocs up 1.9%, that 1.8%. So in that footwear space, Nike looks like Nike was pulling up that sector. Copper, 4 stocks in there, all of them were up. So we've been seeing kind of like alternative energy, inflation-driven stocks, getting pushed up. Yesterday, looks like pharmaceutical retail were 64% of those were up. Let me see if I filter it by this group. Conglomerates, 81% of those were up yesterday. Looks like on median return unchanged. Shell companies, 72% of those were up yesterday. Really quickly, that's just kind of going through where money was flowing yesterday. I'm going to come back to the solar and just take a look at how far the median return is from the 52-week lows. You can see like huge gains there from 52-week lows, and we're near 52-week highs there in that solar space. If there are no questions on this report, Will, I'll keep moving.
Yep, you can move.
All right. We made some changes to this insider trades screener. Now, these are getting pulled from the SEC Form 4 filings. When insiders do purchases, sales, certain insiders have to file with the SEC. We're taking those, parsing them, and this is a screener. And you also have the link to that SEC filing over here. Let's first look what this data table is, and I'll go over some of these new columns that you're seeing and some new filters. So here we see this is the symbol, YORW. This is the name of the company. This is the owner, the insider that did the transaction. This is the position within the company. The transaction was done on December 21st. It was a buy for $47.88. The stock last was 46.02, so it's down 3.9% from the trade price. This is the amount of shares, so really 12 shares, nothing big there. This is the notional value of the trade, $600 worth of stock. This is the amount of shares held afterwards. This is the SEC filing, so you could open it and go to it and read it. The other way on the SEC form that they classify is what type of owner. So it could be a direct or indirect. Like a direct owner, you basically own the stock in your whatever trading account. Indirect is you could be invested in a fund that did the transaction, right? So it's kind of going through the stock is being held in some kind of fund or whatever you have set up, and that's where the transaction happened. So you have direct, indirect, and sometimes you could have both when there's multiple transactions, direct and indirect. To filter that out, you would use this form of ownership. So if you want to see just transactions made direct, you would filter it this way, okay? So that's one of the new filters and classifications. I'm going to unfilter that and just keep kind of moving on here. This one is if the filing has a derivative. So sometimes when these insiders, they do a transaction, it doesn't necessarily have to be a buy on the open market or sell in the open market. It could be a conversion of some kind of derivative, like an option or a convertible bond or whatever. So they have that inside the SEC filing, and here we just put a check mark there so you kind of know a little bit more about the details of the transaction. So I'm going to click on here at SVBI. We see that this transaction is from December 21st. I'm going to go to this SEC filing and just kind of show you what that looks like. So you see here is the transaction, a purchase, 4,000 shares, right? This is the stock. This is the owner. He did a purchase, 4,000 shares, $7.10. This is the amount held afterwards. He's a direct owner. But you could see here, when you come down here in more details, that there's a derivative, right, that was exercised. It looks like an employee stock option, right to buy. So you see he didn't actually go out there and buy the stock on the, on the market. He converted his option into stock and bought it that way. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense to people. If not, well, let me know if you see questions popping up.
Our buddy Mike is asking, does the insider report exclude options as bonuses or compensation?
Wait, read that again.
He's asking about the insider. He's asking, does it include or exclude options that are given to, I guess, employees as bonus or compensation? I would assume it includes, but
right, it includes, and they give you indicators, so you can use the filters to filter, either filter for those or filter those out. Okay, so you have the ability. So this is, you're getting into more and more details, so it gives you the ability to kind of really narrow down the transactions to what you're looking for. All right, but that's why we're giving you these indicators, and you're able to use the filters to filter it out. This one, the filing, it has non-reported. I'm going to show you how this. So this is the filter here. I'm going to set this to true. So sometimes they have. I'm going to set this to false. So I'm going to say it doesn't have a derivative. So there's no option. So there's no derivative. Here's, we see a direct owner, and then there's a filing that has non-reported non-derivative items. Let me show you how that looks like. So over here, we see that there's no derivative in this, right? But it has some types of codes in here. So something is different. It's not a straight sale or purchase, but there's other things going on here. And that's kind of like the indicator. And you have a bunch of footnotes here explaining what's going on. A lot of these transactions, they're not very straightforward, and you really have to go in there and read these footnotes to understand the transaction itself. They're required to report it, but sometimes you have to go into those details, and they're unique, so you can't categorize all of them. Sometimes I see like 16 footnotes, and you have to read through them and figure out what happened because they're moving stock between funds. Sometimes it's based on some schedule that they're selling stock on some schedules. So whatever footnotes there are, go in there and read it because that will give you more details about that transaction, a lot more insight. Again, but you have to go in there and read those footnotes. So that's how that would look. You would start looking for the codes and the footnotes. Okay. This one, price is inside or outside the day's range. Now, here's the other thing we look for is that we've discovered that even when the transaction looks like a simple transaction, the transaction price is outside the day's high and low range, meaning it couldn't have possibly traded on the open market because the price is not even near the range of that day's high low. All right, so let's take a look at that. I'm going to unfilter it and show you an example. So let's say the price is outside the day's range. Here's YORW. We see $47.88. That's where the transaction was on December 21st, 2020. So I'm going to just bring up. What was the YORW? So YORW. Let's go to the historical prices. So we said what, December 21st? 45.05, 46.79. So you see it traded 47.88, but the high we have here is 46.69 on the day. So there, that's something suspicious, right? Let's open this up and see what's going on. So here's the price. I don't even see any footnotes, but something here is strange, right? 12. So the amount of shares here is even strange. 12.53 shares. Kind of doesn't make sense. Maybe maybe they typed it in wrong. Anyway, when this happens, you want to filter it out and kind of go in there and try to figure out what's going on because something doesn't make sense. And I've seen lots of times where they made mistakes and had to file for corrections. So again, you have these filters to help you out, right? Just to find things that you may be out of line.
Are the corrections done on a separate form, or are they still that form 4?
I think they do another filing. I think that they do another filing. I have to take a look how they do it, but I've seen like where they have to make corrections. And we've actually called the SEC with some of these and asked them we're called securities. Like, well, what's going on? Some of this doesn't make sense. And, they told us like, this isn't like, people are typing this in by hand, so you have a form, people are like, typing in by hand, sometimes making mistakes. So you want to kind of take a look, read the details, see if the prices make sense. That's what we discovered. Like sometimes we have to actually call and be like, what's going on? You could also call the investor relations, and see like if something doesn't make sense, call them and say, what does this mean? Here you have different codes. So when you have different codes within the filing, they could represent different things in there. So like down here, you see these are different codes, OP, AP. We just copied what the transaction codes mean. So you could see, this is just open market purchase, open market sale. This is a transaction they reported voluntarily earlier than required. Here you have, if it was a grant or award, all these different codes, right? That are possibilities. So you could see not all of them are just straightforward buys and sells. So we just put all the codes that we detect on that form, we put here, and you could screen by them. So if you're just looking for a code regular purchase, you could screen by that. Just purchase, and you'll see this one, for example, has a purchase and an M, right? And a derivative. So most likely you could tell that this purchase was done through an exercise of an option. So here you come down here, M, exercise, right? Exercises, this was done as an exercise. We could go to it and take a look. So if you look at these, if you're using the insider trades, it's important to understand them and understand the data. Here, this is the stock. We see here's M. It's an exercise, right? That's the code. You could read it down here. Exercise, whatever it was. 2,000 exercise resulted in 2,000 shares. See here, there's no price even associated with it. And this is the amount of shares afterwards. So again, a lot of times, the CEOs have options to buy, right? It's an employee stock option. They get warrants, all this stuff. Doesn't mean they went directly into the market and bought it. It's just a different way that they get rewarded, and then they file it. So that's the way you would start looking through this with more details. Here's one with an A, right? So we go down here. What does A mean? A is a grant, right? So we could take a look at that. So it was a purchase through grant. Let's open it up, SSNC. So here's the stock, the insider. Here we go. A is the grant. This is the amount of the stock. This is the price. Here's what's following afterwards. And here you could see here. This is the explanation below. Right. I'm not going to get into it because you could read it, but it's always different, right? Those explanations, they just type that in. So this is all new, all these transaction codes. We just pushed that out yesterday. The ability to filter by if it's a direct or indirect owner, the ability to filter out if you want to see derivative transactions or filter out any derivative transactions, filter this out, filter out if the price was within the day's trading range or outside, you have that ability. So let's just do one really quick. I'm going to look for direct owner. I don't want to see anything with a derivative because they're probably just exercising something. I don't want to see any of this. I want to see that the price is within the range, right? So it's probably done on an open market. Let's do the purchase code. So we want to see a buy transaction. Let's see notional value above $1 million. So here now, and let's see that okay. So here we see PDLI, pharmaceutical. This is the owner, 10% owner, December 17th, bought the stock for $2.61. This is the amount of shares, over $1 million worth. The stock's up 0.6%. So here we kind of filtered out all the other things that didn't want to see, right? PCLP, same thing, December 16th, did a transaction, $10.29, $2 million worth of stock. Stock's up 1.6% since the transaction, and this is the remaining number of shares. Sono, again, here, this is the stock. This is the owner. Did the transaction December 16th for $11.57. Stock's up 2.8%. Since the transaction, bought 100,000 shares, $1.15 million worth. This is the amount of stock left over after the transaction. Again, you could go to it. Still, you want to read any further details, see if there's any remarks, footnotes, but that's the transaction. Hopefully that's helpful to people to figure out how to better screen for and use this screener. Are there any questions on that?
Mike H is asking when those features are available. You said you pushed them out last night, so I'm assuming they're available now.
Yeah, they should. You should be able to use them now. All right. So let me see if there's any. Let's
Now,
look in
listen, if
the.
you're using it and you find any issues, please email us, support at
Yeah.
MarketChameleon. That's how we resolve issues.
Well, then, yeah, we've been working hard to try to, you know, organize this data as best as possible, because you could see that once you open up those SEC filings, sometimes they get messy, confusing. So we're trying to organize it so you could kind of filter out and get to the answers as quick as possible. But still, you have to go to the filing and read it and try to understand, especially when there are footnotes in there, what's going on. So just filtering out doesn't tell the whole story. You want to go and read those footnotes.
Andy says, this is awesome. Didn't even know it existed. Thanks for sharing. So there you go.
Okay, awesome. And I'll start using this a little bit more, as you know, every day we'll try to filter some, use some of these filters to get insight, see if we could get some, you know, interesting stocks filtered out here. But let me go to this other report that we had to move this implied vol mover. So we moved it under this section right now. And what this is looking is, it's looking at what the at the money options did, the implied volatility for the at the money options in each expiration for all these stocks, right? So for example, here, this is NXTD. This is the name of the stock. This is the price of the stock, what the percentage changed yesterday. This is the market cap. We're looking at the Jan 15th expiration. Tells you how many trading days left. So it's not looking at calendar days, trading days left till expiration. This is the at the money volatility for the option. This is what the at the money volatility changed on the day. This is how much options traded on this expiration. This is telling us what the straddle, the percentage move it's implying from now to expiration. So this straddle, again, this is a dollar stock, but it's implying that the stocks will move 67% in either direction. Buying the call, buying the put, remember the magnitude of the move. This is comparing it to historicals and saying, well, if the options are implying 67.6%, on average, what does this stock move over an 18-day period? So we look at the last 6 years and we say over an 18-day period, the average move is 29.1%. So we could see that's 2.3 times. If we take the ratio, the implied move is 2.3 times its average move during that same period. This is the highest move it made in the last 6 years over an 18-day period. And this is the ratio of the implied divided by the highest. Okay, so let's do a quick filter. I'm going to look for the next expiration. So let's just set that to, January 15th.
Dee, can you just walk us through again how you got to this implied volatility movers screen?
So it's under options, and we moved it right here, implied vol movers. Okay.
All right.
Right there. So let's take a look at, for example, I'm going to look January 15th. Let's look at ETFs for now. So I'm filtering out ETFs. Let's look at biggest market cap. So here we got SPY, January 15th expiration, 18 days to go. Implied volatility yesterday was up. This is the amount of option volume traded in that expiration. As of yesterday's close, we're not open yet. As of yesterday's close, the straddle was implying a move of 4.2% in either direction. That compares to historical average move of 4%. So we see it's almost in line. It's kind of in line, maybe a little bit above that average. The high move in SPY over an 18-day period in the last 6 years was 19.7%. So we see here it's kind of in line with the average move, and this is how far away it is, the ratio from its high move. QQQ, same QQQ, January 15th expiration. We see the implied move is 5.1%. That compares to a historical average move of 4.7%. So it's 1.1%. Sorry, on the ratio 1.1 times its average move. Let's take a look. What else you could do is you could use this search for universal search, like for a symbol or stock. But here are the ETFs These are the select sector ETFs. So I'm going to copy this, select sector, copy. I'm going to put this in a search. So now, so it's, what's going on here? No, 1 second. It was working earlier.
Well, it's a bug. It happens with new releases, that's for sure.
So we just, let me see though, I was using this. All right. So I have to check on that. But
well, listen, again, as you chameleons are using these new features, please email us, support@MarketChameleon.com, if you find anything that is not working. That's how we get in and go over these bugs.
All right. So anyway, we're right up against the time, so I'll go over this report again tomorrow. But you could use that search to filter out, by name or whatever. But I'll check on this. It was working, earlier. I'm not sure what happened there. But we'll go over this report again tomorrow. We're right at 9:30, so I'm going to let people go and do the trade.
Awesome job, D. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Everyone have a great trading day. Stay safe out there. Thanks so much, Dima.
Thanks, everyone.
Peace.